Hello guys, welcome back to another video of mine. This is my first non-Chelsea match related video. Sorry it's come a little bit late. I know the international break is nearly over and Chelsea are playing again at the weekend, but as I said, I did want to make a video during the international break that's not exactly, a preview for a Chelsea match or a review for a Chelsea match. I wanted to talk about football away from Chelsea. Now this video, it's going to be slightly linked to Chelsea, not about a match, but linked to stuff going on at Chelsea. And I also wanted to make a point about women's football and something that I experienced only a week or so ago in regards to how people view it, especially men. So I wanted to have a little discussion about that, but I'll do that towards the tail end of the video. And for the start of the video, as I said, I wanted to discuss Frank Lampard and how he's getting on at Chelsea and my thoughts on how it's been going. Do I think he's the right man for the job? What could he change, etc., etc. So I wanted to have a little discussion about that, and then, as I said, I will also talk about women's football and how that's how I've how I've experienced it and my thoughts on it, etc., etc. So getting into the video, so talking about Frank Lampard now. For those, as I said, those of you who know me personally, I made an Instagram story shortly or directly after we lost to Tottenham on penalties in the League Cup fourth round, and I made a couple of points about Frank Lampard, about his credentials and whether he's the right man for the job. I made a couple of points about his in-game management and stuff like that, and I just wanted to kind of follow that up because obviously it's been a while since I made those stories and made those points, and it's been a while since that game. So I just wanted to kind of follow up and just to prove that it wasn't just a heat of the moment thing, because fans tend to do that after you've lost the game. Obviously, fans are very passionate about their club. They don't want to see their team lose. So, and when they do lose, you always tend to be quite annoyed and very vexed and quite, passionate about that stuff. And I was at the time, but the points that I made, as I mentioned, they weren't said in the heat of the moment. They weren't said and then I regretted saying them the following day. I feel the points that I made were correct. And just for those of you who didn't see, and those of you who don't know me personally didn't see the stories, I will talk about it now. Now I did kind of briefly go over it in the review of the game. Basically, the points that I made were kind of talking about Frank Lampard's, the whole process of appointing him, and as I just mentioned a couple of moments ago, his in-game management and the way he conducts himself. Now, I love Frank Lampard, absolutely 100% do. All Chelsea fans do. What he done for the club as a player is, remarkable. He's the club's record goal scorer. The amount of trophies he won, the amount of as I said, the amount of goals he scored. He was just. I would personally say he's the club's best ever player, and there's a few contenders for that spot. But I would say his contribution to the club. He was here for 13 years. His contribution is, it would take a miracle for another player in his position to achieve what he did at the club. So no one, and I certainly am never ever going to take away what he did for the club as a player. It's it's impeccable, remarkable even. But I do, from time to time, and even at the time of his appointment, I had reservations about it. I think I've said this point. I do think it was a bit too sentimental, and I do think it was a bit rushed. I made the point about throughout the Sarri reign, that reign lasted all of 1 year, there was a lot of 50-50. The fan base was a bit split in terms of people. We won the Europa League. We finished third in the Premier League. We got to the League Cup final and probably should have won it. So overall, it was a successful season. But there was a lot of disappointment and anger and disgust towards our style of football. It was very one-dimensional, very boring, just sideways, backwards. It wasn't a great watch, and that's where the divided opinion from fans came from. And obviously, Sarri left at the end of the year, and we appointed Frank Lampard. Now, I think, and this is just my opinion, I do think that Frank Lampard was appointed, in some sense, to unite the fan base, because at the time, and even now, if Frank Lampard was to be sacked, there would be riots and uproar within the Chelsea fan base. And as I said, I still think that would happen now if he got sacked. So I do feel the appointment was made to appease a divided fan base. But that's just my opinion. People, may disagree, and that's fine. And also, as I said, the whole sentimental thing now, as I mentioned, Frank Lampard's a club legend, and we were managerless at the time, so we wanted to get somebody in. So, and he was available. Well, not available, he was still at Derby, but, when the job offer came in, Frank Lampard was never going to turn it down. He was never going to turn it down, and I don't blame him. Look, I don't blame him. He spent the majority, if not all of his the majority of his professional career at Chelsea, achieving everything. And if you're a Liverpool fan, like if Liverpool came in for Steven Gerrard tomorrow and he's at Rangers, he's not going to turn it down. So I don't blame him. But from a fan point of view and a general footballing point of view, Frank Lampard had virtually no experience. He had that year at Derby, did well, albeit, but the difference in managing Derby and Chelsea it's night and day. Like, managing Derby, the expectations aren't as high as at Chelsea. I mean, I think that's a given. At Chelsea, in the past 20 years, we have been expected to win things, compete, and, we have standards set. And that we've had managers come and go. We've had Carlo Ancelotti got sacked even though he won the double. Di Matteo got sacked even though he won the Champions League and the FA Cup. Mourinho got sacked despite him being the most successful manager in the club's history. It's, it's a poison chalice at times. So Frank Lampard had, in his first year, there was no pressure on him. We had lost our best player in Eden Hazard. We couldn't buy anyone because we had a transfer ban. And we were using all these young players that, some of them he brought with from Derby, that were all championship quality players, with all due respect. And he did well. I'm not taking away that he did well. We got top four, we got Champions League football, we got to an FA Cup final that unfortunately we lost, but that's just football. But this season, he was backed. We were able to buy players this summer. He was backed. We brought in some really good players, the likes of Hakim Ziyech, Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Thiago Silva, Ben Chilwell, and Edouard Mendy. We strengthened in all the positions that we looked at last year and said, yeah, we weren't good enough in those positions. We need to go out and strengthen. And, we've done that, which is fantastic. We were all hyped. We were all excited for the season ahead. And rightfully so, because of the calibre of players we brought in. But I know we're only 4 games into the season, but from what I've seen so far, it hasn't really been that, exciting. We haven't seen much to be excited about. I'm going to run through the games that we've played this season, that Brighton game in the first game of the season, yes, we won 3-1, but we were very fortunate. I thought Brighton were the better side for most of that game and could have easily scored more than one. And we got a penalty. We got a deflected goal. We have to take into consideration that game wasn't great. Second game against Liverpool, we lost the game, albeit with 10 men, which is totally acceptable against Liverpool. But what I didn't like was the fact that we showed Liverpool too much respect and just sat off them, and that ties in with Frank Lampard's management, his in-game management, his tactics. I don't agree with them sometimes. We are Chelsea Football Club, albeit yes, Liverpool are a better side than us and have been for the past couple of years. But why does that, warrant us to just be completely scared of them? We have quality players in there. Use them. I didn't like the fact that we just sat back and allowed them to come at us. And if you do that, they're going to score. And they won the game and we lost. Then the game against West Brom was just a complete shambles. First half was just embarrassing. I know we came back and drew 3-3, but that was papering over the cracks of, how shambolic the first half was, and in particular the defending. And this is where I wonder, do Frank Lampard and his coaching staff actually work on training? Because the players, especially the defenders, look like they don't have a clue what they're doing. And I really hope that has developed and will develop. But we've seen all of last year, I think we've conceded the most goals I think we conceded the second most amount of goals in the season, only behind Norwich or someone like that, and we finished fourth. Very, very worrying. And then the game against Crystal Palace, yeah, we won 4-0, but, it took us till the second half to win. It was a good win, don't get me wrong, but Crystal Palace offered virtually nothing in that game. Like, they were basically non-existent, and we are going to have tougher tasks ahead. I was happy that we won the game, but I was not getting hyped or too excited by the margin of the scoreline, because there are going to be tougher tasks ahead. And this is where Frank Lampard's going to be judged now, because we have most of our signings back fit. Ziyech is back, Pulisic is back, Chilwell's back, although he did get injured on international duty, which I hope isn't too serious. So, in the next week or so, he's going to have a fully fit squad, and if we continue to see lackluster performances and, stupid mistakes, as much as none of us want it to happen, he could well get sacked. That's just that's just what happens in this job. So he's really under pressure. Now, as I said, I've said my points. I want him to be sacked, per se, but I do think he needs to really, really change some of his style and the way he conducts himself and his in-game management and, the way he all those things tied in together. Now, the way I say conducts himself, if you notice in his press conferences or, pre-match and, after the matches, more so the kind of press conference before the game, he's very diplomatic. He doesn't give anything away, and he'll just say the right thing just so he doesn't have to be questioned. Now, you can look at that both ways. You can admire it because journalists can be quite, they like to lure managers in with bait, and they'll ask them a question that they know they can't answer because they'll get in trouble with, in the hope that they will. So Frank Lampard is good for that, but the problem I have is that, in particular, if a journalist asks a question in regards to a player's fitness, I don't like how Frank Lampard always says he's not ready, or we're not going to risk him, or this and that, when the player is quite clearly ready. Hakim Ziyech hasn't played for us yet this season. Ziyech has been fit for 3 weeks, but Frank Lampard has just refused to play him. We had that with Edouard Mendy against West Brom. Mendy could have easily played against West Brom, but Frank Lampard decided to take the safe option all the time. Same with Ben Chilwell against, West Brom as well. He had just played against Barnsley in the Cup the couple of days before, yet nowhere to be seen in the squad. And that's another point I make. Frank Lampard seems to be taking the easy option all the time, and I think he's a bit scared of losing his job, so he doesn't want to take the risk and, be ruthless. Which is what Jurgen Klopp's a ruthless manager. Pep Guardiola's a ruthless manager. Mourinho, especially in the past, and even to an extent now, is a ruthless manager. That's why these managers and coaches are so successful. Because they say it as it is, and they do whatever it takes to win matches. Whereas I think Frank Lampard it's always the safe option. I feel Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the same. They just take the safe option, and they're kind of yes men, in my opinion. They'll just say whatever goes because they're afraid of keeping their job because of the links they have with the club. But that's just my opinion. People can feel free to disagree with me. And I don't want Frank Lampard to be sacked. I just want to get that out there. I don't want him to be sacked, but I worry that he will be, unless things change from his point of view. So that's all I'm going to say on the Lampard saga. I've kind of gone on it for a long time now. I wanted to discuss, as I said, women's football and how our society nowadays, especially, people who have an interest in football, and how they are viewing it, especially men, fans of football who are men, are viewing it. Now, I was scrolling through Instagram only a while back, not even a while back, I'd say a week or so ago, and I came across an Instagram post, where a certain page was, there was a female footballer. She scored a really, really good goal into the top corner, and apparently the commentator on the game, was very exaggerated about it, and the caption was saying that even the commentator was surprised by how good a goal it was, which is basically implying that because she's a woman, it's rare that they score very, very good goals. Now, I I try to be, I'm an advocate for equality among, among the sexes or genders, as it would be with anything when it comes to race, like sexism, racism, all that kind of stuff. I'm all for equality, and I'll, if I have a point to say about it, I will say it. I'm not afraid to say how I feel. And I said on that post before, I commented on the post saying, do you guys have nothing better to do than to be sexist? Because it's quite clearly a sexist remark. And I put that down there, and I received a lot of, hate. I say hate. I didn't get abused. There was no abuse, but I got a lot of hate. There was some, nasty comments, and I had people direct messaging me, and I had people commenting on my own Instagram posts about it. And I think that's a problem we have, is that there's a lot of keyboard warriors out there who will say what they like over, a phone screen, but would never say anything like that to your face. But I'm kind of going off topic here. The point I'm making is that those people who are quite clearly, and it is a sexist thing to say, why do you feel the need to point it out if you're not aiming to be sexist? And I had people replying to me saying, "Oh, it's not sexist. It's just clear that women are crap at football." And I'm like, why do you feel the need to say that? Are you looking for? Is it to do with are you looking for power? Are you looking to emphasize that men are better than women by taking the piss out of them? The fact that you need to put these, and this is not just one post, I've seen many of them, the fact that they need to continuously post this stuff and continuously make fun shows that you are trying to be sexist. You are trying to prove a point that men are superior to women. And, it's happened in society. It's not just football. If you weren't being sexist and if you weren't trying to be sexist, why do they feel the need to continuously post these stuff and people continuously comment on this stuff? If it was just a case of them, you think that they're better, you say it and that's it. And the only reason that these people think they're better is because they're so used to watching men's football. If they'd never seen men's football in their life, they'd think women's football is great. I'm sure, you know what I mean? It's I really don't get it. It really does make my blood boil when I see sexist comments and sexist posts, and then when these people try to deny that they're being sexist when it's quite clearly the case that they is. Now, I love women's football. I think it's fantastic that women's football is now getting a lot more recognition, and the fact that these, I'm going to call them idiots, feel the need to, bring it down by commenting stupid things like that is actually a compliment to women's football, that it's becoming, more, widespread and more popular. And I love women's football. I keep up to date with the Chelsea women's squad all the time. So, I love women's football and I'm all for it. And I just wanted to make that point. I think it's about 18 minutes now. It's been a long video, but I wanted to make that point, especially about women's football. So I think that's all for this video, guys. If you did enjoy it, please drop it a like, subscribe if you're new around here or you enjoy the content, and comment down below your thoughts on maybe about the Frank Lampard situation that I mentioned earlier, and even your thoughts on women's football and these kind of sexist posts and comments that I see on the daily, which is really not nice to see. So if you want to share your thoughts down below, please do, and I would love to hear from them. As I said, that's all for this video, guys. And as I said, the international break is over now, so we have Premier League football back this weekend, which is great to see. We're playing Southampton at home, so we'll have the preview out for that game out on Friday, so look out for that, and I'll see you guys soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.